So your part A will be for 15 marks where they will ask define auditing. So this is a 15 marks question where they have asked what is auditing and what are the different types of audit. To being an auditor of a particular organization, he should not have any relationship with the organization. The auditor has to physically verify that assets and liability, that is to find the truth about that assets and liabilities. Hello everyone, I am Arshita, lecturer, Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. My dear students, today we shall discuss model paper on Principles and Practice of Auditing, and this is for 6th Sem BCom students. So your subject name is Principles and Practice of Auditing. So under this subject, you are going to have 6 units, and we had already had a revision on these units, that is from unit 1 to unit 6. Now we shall discuss from the examination point of view, we shall discuss this model question paper. Now we shall go through the session. So if you see here, as usual, the whole question paper has been divided into 3 parts, that is part A for 15 marks, where you have to write the 2 questions out of 4 questions. So they will give you 4 questions. Out of 4 questions, you have to write 2 of them. That is under part A. Next, coming to part B, that is for 10 marks, where you have to write 3 questions out of 5 questions. So out of 5 questions, you have to answer any 3 of the questions. Next, under part C. So under part C, that is for 5 marks. So where you have to answer 4 questions and they will give you 6 questions. So out of 6 questions, you have to answer any of the 4 questions. So here it is 30 marks, that is 15 into 2, 30 marks, 10 into 3, that is 30 marks, and 5 into 4, that is 20 marks. So total you will get 80 marks. So the whole question paper is for 80 marks, where you have to answer 15 marks 2 question, 10 marks 3 question, and 5 marks 4 question. And you know, this Principles and Practice of Auditing is a theory subject. Okay, now we had a brief introduction, brief explanation about all the concepts. Let us see what type of questions will be asked for 15 marks, 10 marks as well as 5 marks. Now here, this is a 15 marks question under part A. So your part A will be for 15 marks, where they will ask define auditing, explain the brief or explain in brief the different types of audit. So we know about auditing, right? So what do you mean by auditing? Brief examination or verification of books of account is called as auditing, and there are various types of audit, and they have asked us to explain that various types of audit. So make sure that you will explain each and every type of audit, since they have asked for 15 marks and you have to explain the types also. Now if you go through the answer of this, so first you will write the meaning of auditing. So hope you know the meaning of auditing. So accountant will prepare the books of accounts. So after preparing that books of account, a person will be appointed, and he should be an independent as well as qualified person who is going to verify or examine that books of account. So that process of examining or verifying the books of account is called as auditing. So first write the meaning of auditing. Next write all the classification or types of audit. So here we have divided the types of or audit into 4 main types. So we had already know about this. That is classification of audit on the basis of organization structure, classification of audit on the basis of degree of independence, next classification on the basis of method or approach, next classification of audit on the basis of specific objective. So here, since they have asked for 15 marks, you have to go step by step. So first, the auditing has been classified into main types. Under these types, there are several subtypes, right? So that we have to discuss in detail. That is classification of of audit on the basis of organization structure. We have statutory audit, government audit as well as private audit. So you have to write explanation for each and everything here. So we have already gone through the revision of these units. You can go through those sessions for the explanation. Next, on the basis of degree of independence, there are two types, internal audit and external audit. In the same way, on the basis of degree of conduct or degree of audit or methods or approach to audit work, it has been divided into 7 types. That is continuous audit, final audit or annual or periodical audit, interim audit, balance sheet audit, complete audit, occasional audit as well as partial audit. So, this is just a side points. You can go through the explanation and you have to write the explanation for this because they have asked for 15 marks. Next, classification of audit on the basis of specific objective. Here also we have cash audit, special audit, operational audit, proprietary audit, efficient audit, tax audit, cost audit, management as well as social audit. So for the explanation, you can go through the revision session. So this is a 15 marks question where they have asked what is auditing and what are the different types of audit. And you have to, at least you have to write 2 to 3 lines of each type of audit. That is, you have to give the explanation for each and every type. Next, moving on to the next question. So I have told you at least you have to answer 2 15 marks question. Now go through the next question. Who is an auditor? Explain the qualification, rights and duties of a company auditor. Or they might ask, who is an auditor? What are the qualification or disqualifications of an auditor? Now if you go through the answer, here we know who is an auditor, right? The person who examines the books of account is known as auditor. Let us see what are the qualification. Of course, he should be a very qualified person, right? So since he is going to verify the books of account who is prepared by the accountant, right? So he should have sufficient knowledge about both accounting as well as auditing process. So he should be a very qualified person. And he has certain rights as well as duties. So that rights and duties has to be written for this question. So first you have to write who is an auditor. So you can write auditor is a person who examines the books of account of an organization is called as an auditor. Next, write what are the qualifications. So he should be a chartered accountant and that should be certified as per Chartered Accountant of India Act. So it should be or he should be certified by Chartered Accountant Act of 1949. So he should be a very qualified as well as he should be a chartered accountant. Next, disqualifications also. What would be the disqualification? So to being an auditor of a particular organization, he should not have any relationship with the organization. He should be an independent person who does not have any touch with the organization. Only such type of person will be appointed as an auditor of the organization. Next, this rights and powers of a company auditor. So here also, being an auditor, he has certain rights as well as duties. So that has to be written one by one. So that is right to speak in the general meeting. So there are various rights, right? So to being an auditor, he has also certain rights as well as duties. Next, duties as well as responsibilities of a company auditor. So you can go through each and every duties of a company auditor. Next question for 15 marks is define internal check. Explain internal check as regards to cash sales. Now what do I mean by internal check? So internal check we have already learnt about it, where work of one person will be in the control of some other person is called as internal check. So here in an organization, during the process of auditing, there are number of transactions to be verified, right? So such work will be distributed among the staff itself inside the organization, where one person's work will be under the control of some other person. So that process or that activity is called as what? Internal check. And it is very essential for an organization to conduct the internal check to make the audit process very effective. Next, we have to explain internal check as regards to cash sales. So how, you know, in an organization, of course, the purchase and sales are very common, right? So how internal check has to be done with regards to cash sales, so that has to be explained in detail, and we know the answer of it. So we had already discussed about it in the concept class as well as in the revision class also. So you have to write the answer here, write the meaning of internal check and internal check as regards to cash sales. So how it has to be done? Sales at counter. So there are various explanations under this, that is sales at counter, how in an counter, how the internal check has been done. That is in sales counter, how the internal check has to be done. Next, if the sales are made through postal or mail, then during that situation, how this internal check is being conducted. Next, sales by representatives and agents. So there are number of representatives and agents who are involved in the process of selling of goods and services. In that situation, how, or in order to reduce the misappropriation of goods, how this internal check has to be conducted. So that we have to explain in this question. That is, what is internal check and how the internal check has to be conducted with regards to this cash sales or with regards to goods. Next, internal check, you can write the objective. So if they ask just objective of internal check, they will ask for 5 marks. So we have to write the objective of internal check also. Next question for 15 marks is, what is verification of assets and liability? What are its objectives? How do you verify the following? So how the verification of investment is done, how the verification of goodwill is done. Now what do you mean by verification of assets and liabilities? Of course, in the balance sheet at the end of the financial year, the organization will show certain assets as well as liability. But we actually don't know whether that assets and liability are there actually in the business or not. So for that reason, what an auditor has to do, he has to physically verify that assets and liability. So what do you mean by verification? Verification means finding the truth. So verification means finding the truth of assets and liability. Of course, they will show in the balance sheet, but we don't know whether it is actually there in the organization or not. For that reason, the auditor has to physically verify that assets and liability, that is, to find the truth about that assets and liability is called as verification of assets and liability. And you can write what are its objectives. So the main objective would be in order to reduce the errors as well as fraud in the organization. Then they have asked, how do you verify the investment and how do you verify the goodwill? So we have to give an explanation how the investment in the organization will be verified, at the same time how the goodwill of the firm will be verified. So how to answer this question? First, write what is the meaning of verification. So verification is nothing but, I have already told you, proving the truth or providing the truth about the assets and liability is called as verification of assets and liability. Next, write what are the objectives of verification of assets and liability. Of course, the main objective will be to reduce the errors as well as frauds in the organization. Next, you have to write how the verification and valuation of investment is made in an organization. Of course, in each and every organization, investment is very essential. So we have to go on writing how the investment has to be verified and how it has to be valued in an organization. So this would be your answer. So we had already gone through all these topics. Next, verification and valuation of goodwill. So we know about goodwill. So goodwill is called as what? It is an intangible assets where you can't touch that asset. We can just feel the value of goodwill. So it is also help in increasing the profit of the organization. It also plays a very important role in the organization. So it is very essential to verify as well as value the goodwill. So these are the certain procedure where the verification and valuation of goodwill is made. So you can go through all these points and write the answer. Next, coming to the 10 marks question. So here we have discussed 15 marks, 4 questions, out of which you have to write any of the 2 questions, and this is just a model question paper. Okay. Now coming to the 10 marks. So in 10 marks, So we have to write any 5 questions. So they will ask 5 questions, out of which we have to write any of the 3 questions. Now go through the question. What are the merits and demerits of audit program? So first, in order to write the merits and demerits, so first we have to know what is audit program, right? So what do I mean by audit program? The overall control or overall program of an organization is called as what? Audit program. That is, before the commencement of an audit work, a complete program has to be set up relating to audit. That is known as what? Audit program. That is, in audit program, it contains who has to do the work and how the proper division of work has to be done and when it has to be done, what is the time duration of audit work. So each and everything. So before conducting the audit, so a program will be set up which is known as audit program. So in order to know what are the merits and demerits, first we have to know what is the meaning of audit program. Then write the meaning of audit program. An audit program is an essentially preliminary to an efficient audit. That is, before commencement of an audit work, an auditor generally pre-plans. So that pre-planning is known as what? Audit program. Next, we'll write what is the advantages of audit program. So there are several advantages of audit program. In order to make proper distribution of work or in order to do the work continuously, so this audit program is very essential. So if the audit program is set up already and each and every staff is knowing about the audit program, then the staff need not wait for the instruction to be given by the senior officials, right? Because in audit program they have already know what work they have to do. So there are several advantages. We have already discussed about it. You can go on writing all the advantages. In the same way, disadvantages of audit program. So of course, an audit program is both advantages as well as disadvantages. So if you see the disadvantages of audit program, so it is a plan which is made in advance, that is before commencement of audit work. So the audit staff have to stick on that work itself. Suppose if there is a creative worker or creative audit staff, so it will be difficult for him because he can't switch to another type of job. So whatever which is mentioned in the audit program, he has to follow that instruction. He has to be reserved to that particular work itself. So this is a disadvantages of audit program. So there are many other disadvantages. You can go through the previous session and you can see what are the disadvantages. So here also I have mentioned certain disadvantages. You can go through these disadvantages. Next question for 10 marks. What is oching? Explain its importance. Now what do you mean by oching? So you know, in books of account, each and every transaction should be recorded along with the respective ochers. Now what do you mean by ochers? The documentary evidence in support of a transaction is called as ochers. So for each and every organization or for each and every transaction, there should be a supporting ocher. So it may be a receipt or it may be a bill, it may be a cash memo or it may be an invoice. So such type of bill should be there in order to record each and every transaction in the books of account. So that is known as ochers. Then what do you mean by oching? The process of verifying each and every transaction with the respective ochers is called as oching. So the process of comparing the transaction along with the respective ochers is called as oching. So that is the meaning of oching. Then explain the importance. What are the importance of oching? So there are number of importance of oching because without a documentary evidence, without a proper ocher, so the transactions may be fake. Right? So such transaction may incur lot of difference in the organization. So in order to verify that or in order to reduce the errors and frauds without an ocher, that is recording a transaction without an ocher, so in order to reduce that, this oching is essential. So how to write? First you will write the meaning of oching. Next, what are the importance of oching? So here normally for 10 marks they will combine the question. For example, here also they have asked what is oching, then what are the importance of oching. So here there will be 2 questions. Okay, so this can be written for 10 marks where you have to write number of importance of oching. Next points to be considered in oching. So that also can be written for 10 marks. Next for 10 marks is what is audit planning, how to develop an overall audit plan. Now what do you mean by audit planning? You know, for each and every organization or for each and every activity, there should be a proper plan. Without a proper plan, it will be very difficult in order to undertake that activity. In the same way, during the process of an audit, so what the auditor will do? Auditor will collect all the information and he will prepare a plan which is known as what? Audit planning. That is about the future audit work. He prepares a plan which is called as audit planning. Next question is that how to develop an overall audit plan. So there are certain procedure where important points has to be taken into consideration in planning an audit. So that has to be written for this question. That is, you have to write what is the meaning of audit planning, then why audit planning is needed in an organization, why it is essential in an organization. That is, without a proper plan, it's not only auditing, for any other activity, without a proper plan, it is a waste. So, if there is a proper plan, then the activity can be undertaken very easily. So, here also, we have to go on writing what is this audit planning is all about and how to develop an overall audit plan. That is developing an overall audit plan. So, how an audit planning has to be taken into consideration, how the planning has to be made by foreseeing the future. Next question for 10 marks. What is computerized auditing? Explain its advantages and disadvantages. Now, due to increase in technology, earlier auditing was only reserved for manual auditing. Later, once the technology gets improved, so it has been converted into computerized auditing, where the auditing is conducted with the help of computers. So, it may be with the help of computer software or any other machines. That is, instead of manual auditing, they go for computer auditing. So, you know, there are various benefits in computer auditing. So, if you think about computer itself, there are various benefits in using a computer. The speed is very high, the storage is very easy, less paperwork. So, these are the advantages of computerized or computer. In the same way, that can be related to computerized auditing also. So, if a manual auditing is conducted, what are its drawbacks? So, when compared to computerized auditing, how advantageous is computerized auditing is about. So, that you can write here, what is computerized auditing? Explain its advantages and disadvantages. Of course, even though there are certain advantages of computerized auditing, but there is disadvantages also. So, you have to write that disadvantages and advantages for 10 marks. So, first you have to write what is this computerized auditing is all about. So, if you go through the meaning here, computerized auditing is nothing but the auditing which is conducted with the help of computers or computer software is called as computerized auditing. Then you can write what are the uses or benefits of computerized auditing. So, if you go through this, the speed is very high, greater accuracy, the correctness will be more in computer, greater economy also, because it will speed up the work with less cost as well as less number of staffs. Next, better records. So, they can maintain proper records, greater information, they can collect various information. Next, interim accounts. So, the accounts can be prepared very easily, that is twice in a year, so that it will be easy for the declaring of interim dividend. Next, analysis of data. Not only collection of data, along with that analysis of data can also be done by the use of computers. So, if you see the problem also, there are number of problems. So, it is suitable only for the small business concern where the storage problem will be there, or attack of virus or fraud can also happen in this computerized auditing. So, there are number of disadvantage. You can go through all the disadvantage and write the answer. One more 10-mark question. Explain the difference between internal check, internal control and internal audit. So you might seems to be similar. So it might seems to be similar. All these three words are similar, but there are a lot of difference between all these three words. It is internal check, internal control as well as internal audit. And we have gone through clearly in a revision session. So you can go through here. There are various difference between internal control, internal check and internal audit. So such type of question will be asked for 10 marks, that is difference between these three terms, or they might ask the difference between only two terms, that is internal check and internal audit, or they might ask difference between internal control and internal check. So they can either ask only two terms where we have to write the difference, or three terms where we have to write the difference. Normally they will ask two of the terms and they will ask us to write the difference. Next 5 marks question. Okay, so we have already learnt about 15 marks and 10 marks. Now we shall come to 5 marks. Write a note on teaming and lading. So we have already discussed about it. So it is nothing but it is a fraudulent activity where misappropriation of cash is done. So what do you mean by teaming and lading? So it is a fraudulent activity where misappropriation of cash is done, where, for example, if A is a customer and the organization have received Rupees 50,000 from A, but that 50,000 has been misused by the cashier. Now what the cashier will do? Same amount if he receives from B, that is Rupees 50,000, A's account will be credited with that 50,000 which is received from B. In the same way, he goes on crediting some others amount in some others account. So that fraudulent activity is called as teaming and lading. So this is a simple 5 marks question where you have to write about teaming and lading, and you can give a better example also. So we have already discussed about examples also. Just now I have told the example, that is A is a customer where the amount has been received from A, but what the cashier will do, instead of crediting that amount to A, so what he will do, he will misuse that amount. That is nothing but what? Teaming and lading. So he will be postponing that payment. So postponing that amount. So that fraudulent activity of cash is called as teaming and lading. Next, the 5 marks question is, what do you or how do you audit the accounts of cooperative societies? So we have learnt about it. That is auditing of different types of organization. So here also we are going to write how the auditing is being conducted in cooperative societies. So for each and every type of organization, there are certain law where according to that law itself, the auditing has to be conducted. Now, if you take about cooperative society, so it has to be conducted as per Cooperative Societies Act of 1912, right? So there are certain procedure, there are certain laws for each and every type of organization where the auditing has to be conducted as per that law itself. That depends upon the type of organization. So here we have to write how the auditing is being conducted under cooperative society. So we have to go on writing the points relating to auditing of cooperative society. So here main you have to take into consideration. So it has to be done as per the particular law depending upon the type of organization. So it has to be done as per particular law. So this is a 5 marks question where you have to write about auditing of a cooperative society, and we have already discussed in detail about each and every types of organization. Next 5 marks question is, what is audit planning? So what is audit planning? That I have already told you before planning or before doing any other activity. So we have to plan in advance. In the same way, before an auditor goes for an audit process, so he has to do a proper plan. That is proper plan on audit. So that is known as what? Audit planning. So they will ask what is audit planning, or write a note on audit planning for 5 marks. So where you have to write the meaning of audit planning, and you can write some of the features or importance of audit planning. Next, write a note on audit notebook. So what do you mean by audit notebook? As I told you, if you know the meaning of it, you can only analyze what are its importance. Now, what do you mean by audit notebook? So, during the process of this auditing, so what the audit staff will do, so whenever he comes certain important points during the process of auditing, so that important points will be recorded or will be written in a note that is known as what? Audit notebook. So during the process of auditing, if any important points is found, so that has to be noted down by the audit staff. So that book in which the audit staff will note the important points, so that is known as what? Audit notebook. So you can expect a question, write a note on audit notebook. So you can go on writing the meaning of audit notebook, or you can write how we are going to maintain the audit notebook, or you can write any of the 5 features of audit notebook also. Next, write a note on audit report. Now, what do you mean by audit report? Of course, the person who verifies or examines the books of account is called as an auditor, right? So, after the process of auditing, after examining the books of account, he has to give the findings to the organization. He has to give the opinion about the financial statement of the organization in the form of a report. So, in the form of a report, he has to submit to the organization, which is called as what? Audit report. So, what do you mean by audit report? Audit report is a findings or the opinion of an auditor about the financial statement of the organization is called as audit report. So, here we can write the meaning of audit report, and even we can write the characteristics of audit report for 5 marks. Next, write a note on annual audit. So, here the word itself tells that annual, in the sense in a year, they are going to audit the books of account, which is called as annual audit. So, what do you mean by annual audit? So, we call it as annual audit. So, what do you mean by that? That is, at the end of the financial year, we are going to audit the books of accounts of a organization is called as annual audit. And there are certain advantages as well as disadvantages. Advantages is that at one sitting, they can finish all the work. But there are continuous audit also. So that is reverse to this annual audit, where in continuous audit, each and every transaction is verified often and often. That is, in each day, they are going to verify the books of account. But in case of annual audit, as the word itself says that at the end of the financial year, that is after the preparation of financial statement, they are going to prepare this annual audit, or they are going to conduct this annual audit. So, you can write the answer. So, annual audit is also called as final audit. So, it is also called as final audit because after the preparation of financial statement, they are going to verify the books of accounts. And you can write any of the advantages as well as the limitations of final audit or annual audit. My dear students, in today's session, we had gone through a model paper on principles and practice of auditing. Hope you have understood what is the format of the question paper will be. So, the total question paper will be for 18 marks, where you have to write 2 15 marks question and 3 10 marks question and 4 5 marks question for 80 marks. See you all in my next session. Till then, take care. Thank you.